How did Greg know? What's going on, everybody? Man, Micah's back with another video. Back here to talk about the Game Awards 2023. Yes, Jeff Keighley did his thing this time. Not to say that he hasn't done so in the past, but for sure, we've seen just like the evolution of the Game Awards culminating to something great. And this year, A+ on the event. The pacing was well. You only really felt it get a little long in the tooth right at the end, but it was over right when you felt that. So for the most part, it really didn't feel like 3 hours. I know that sounds kind of odd to say, but it really didn't feel like it was 3 hours because it was well paced. We had a lot of good games that was shown off, a lot of things to look forward to, even next year alone. Not to mention a few things that is dropping this month, including basically today, right? Oh, where do we start? So I think what I'm going to do is, because there were so many games, so many awards, we're going to run through the awards real quick. I'm going to give my quick takes on the awards, and then we're going to talk about the games that were shown off, all the world premieres. I do like how Jeff did that this time, where he just bundled in all the world premieres under like a segment at a time. That way it made them go faster, and we didn't get a bunch of world premiere announcements. They just said it. We didn't even get like an official, world premiere. We didn't get none of that. So that was pretty interesting to see. Not mad at it at all, and it really helped the flow a whole lot better. Not a lot of ads either. It was just straight to the point. So without further ado, before we get into all the games that won awards, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so that way you know it's my videos or my occasional live streams. That way we can sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. Now let's get into those awards and bring in this over here. All right, so the games that won: Mario Bros. Wonder won a game. Forza Motorsport won basically 2 games. League of Legends won like the championship esports event game. Valorant won a game, won an award. Baldur's Gate won Best Actor Performance. Alan Wake 2 won Best Narrative. Now, this is where I was hoping Marvel Spider-Man 2 would have got something tonight. Oh, Marvel Spider-Man didn't get anything again, just like they didn't win anything in 2018 when the game first dropped. Not to mention, 2020, I don't think they got any nods from Miles Morales. As great of work and beautiful work that they do, they just cannot get recognized in the Game Awards segments. It's crazy. At least they were nominated, but I mean, it's just like, pew, 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 it was something. All right, continuing. Cocoon won Best Indie. Armored Core 6 won Best Action, something that made a lot of us happy, I think, because Armored Core came back after a long period of being gone and did their thing. Once you pick up the controller and play Armored Core, you don't want to put it back down because they do such a great job of mech work, mech battles, mech gameplay, mechanics. And to me, this one even feels better than like the older Armored Core games. Like, this one felt truly established, and I'm glad it did win the award for Best Action. Then you have Alan Wake 2 for Best Art. It's hard to deny that one there. Again, I think Spider-Man was nominated for that one as well. If they weren't, I can also understand why they lost. Alan Wake 2 was going to be the heavy hitter this year, along with Baldur's Gate, and you could argue Zelda. I really thought Spider-Man had a push, but it just seemed like it didn't. And so we're going to continue on here. RE Village won Best VR. Honkai Star Rail won Best Mobile. A game that looks interesting. Also, oddly looks like Genshin Impact a little bit. I wouldn't mind trying either one. I definitely would rather play on console than mobile game, but it's like, why not try, I guess. I do have a couple mobile game compatible devices like this iPad and my iPhone, so maybe I'll try it. But the Honkai Star Rail actually looks like a pretty good game. Hi-Fi Rush won Best Audio. Kind of straightforward there. That game is based around audio, so it was definitely good to see that win something in regards to sound. Chia won Games for Impact. Final Fantasy 16 won Best Score Music. How could it not? Final Fantasy always comes through with the music, so it's not even surprising there. I mean, even when they did the orchestra for Final Fantasy 7, I think it was for Rebirth, which again is dropping on Leap Day, February 29, 2024. Beautiful piece. The orchestra also throughout the night was absolutely amazing. I mean, they had a guy on the end in the front row, the orchestra playing like 3, 4, 5 different instruments, and he was having a jolly old good time. So that was also fun and added a little bit of extra spice and flavor to the orchestra. So shout out to the Game of the Year orchestral performance. And as we continue to move on down, Sea of Stars won an award. I forgot what it was called. Baldur's Gate won Best Community. Street Fighter 6 won Best Fighting. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won Most Anticipated. A little interesting to see that even it usurped Star Wars, Outlaws. Again, I guess because Star Wars isn't in the greatest of spaces, people are probably very, very apprehensive or hesitant to really like that game or, anticipate it. So I can understand from that perspective. Also kind of interesting to see Marvel's Wolverine not in there. Does that mean it's not coming 2024? Interesting. Cyberpunk 2077 won Best Ongoing. And correct me if I'm wrong, down in the comment section, did No Man's Sky also win this award at one point? And the reason why I'm asking that is because this is a true achievement to devs sticking to their vision or sticking to their guns and developing their game to make it the best they can and to show why they had to hype around the game. If you remember, No Man's Sky ran into something somewhat similar with Cyberpunk dropping and being an utter failure. And throughout the 10 years it's been around, No Man's Sky reclaimed itself as being a very solid game and I think did win some awards. And now you see that come around full circle with Cyberpunk 2077 winning Best Ongoing. Something that we was hoping Anthem 2.0 was going to do for Anthem, but unfortunately EA or BioWare, tanked that. But it's good to see, like, if you just keep with it, the fans will support it if you clearly show the vision you have and you stick to it. So shout out to Cyberpunk for doing that. And then we got The Last of Us wins Best Adaptation. Several different video game adaptations. Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, Twisted Metal, to name a few. Fallout's about to come out. A lot of different adaptations, and it's so interesting to see video games blur that cinema look now, both in game and literally leaping out of the game into like some form of live action or animated series or movie. So we're gonna probably see a lot more of that, going forward. But it's good to see like them do the games justice by the type of live action or animated content they create for it, really to kind of maybe even expand the world. So shout out to Naughty Dog for that. Zelda wins Best Action Adventure. This is where I think Star Wars and or Marvel Spider-Man 2 should have won. When you think about Cal Kestis' journey across like 4 to 5 different planets, not to mention the main planet you play on, which is Kobo, and how just unnecessarily vast it is. The 4 to 5 different lightsaber stances you get, the Force on top of that, his traversal with all 3. How could you not give that Best Action and Adventure just from that perspective alone? And it was a decently sized story, I guess. Now if you factor in a lot of the open worldness of it, it definitely adds a lot of time, because I think it took me like roughly 60 to 80 hours of platinum it. And oh my goodness, I just remember some of those battles. But that one I think definitely should have took the cake for that. And if not, Spider-Man should have been recognized here again for the traversal, traveling around, adventuring through New York City as 2 different Spider-Men, playing as Venom, the combat systems oriented around each of those separate characters, and being able to fluidly and seamlessly play as them, and allowing Spider-Man and Miles to kind of combo with one another. I think those 2 games kind of got played a little bit for this section specifically. So I definitely think Zelda should not have won this one, but it did. So shout out to Zelda. I haven't played Nintendo in a while. I would love to get a Switch though. Baldur's Gate 3 wins Best RPG. Pikmin 4 wins Best Sim Strategy Game. Forza wins Best Sport Racing Game. Baldur's Gate wins Best Multi. Wins Player's Voice. And Alan Wake 2 wins Best Game Direction. Again, Spider-Man 2 got played. But ultimately, everything came down to Baldur's Gate 3 nearly sweeping the awards this year, much like Last of Us did back in 2020. Wow. Baldur's Gate clearly had a thing going for it, much like Elden Ring did, what was that, last year, I believe. It very, very good to see, more or less the game just kind of stick to the awards, and the way it just felt like this or Alan Wake was going to win this award, and to see Baldur's Gate kind of come on top was a little surprising based off how much energy they put into Alan Wake 2. But either game could have won it. It would have been surprising if tie goes to the runner situation where they couldn't pick between Baldur's Gate or Alan Wake 2, and it does slide to Spider-Man. That would have been interesting because we know we've seen that happen before, both in terms of like the Oscars and the Grammys, and even the Game Awards has had a couple awards where it was like, wait a second, how did that one win out of these ones? Wasn't that, matter of fact, like 2 years ago, maybe? Anyway, so that's the awards. If you guys stuck this far into the video, if you guys haven't already, again, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that way you guys know my videos on my occasional live streams. So that way we can sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. Now, what are the things that Jeff Keighley had in store for us in terms of the world premieres? There's a game called Arknight's Infield. That game looked pretty good. It was like one of the first games that they showed off, and really all the announcements are just about in order. Windblown was another game that looked pretty neat. Definitely had like a nice artistic tone to it, kind of like what was that game? Hades, and another game that's kind of similar to it, but it had that artistic look to it. And then you had another game called Exodus with Matthew McConaughey, a space game that looked pretty good. The way he was describing it definitely felt like we was about to get an Interstellar. I'm not even going front, but it's not necessarily that. And I couldn't even tell if his voice was in the trailer that they gave us, unless he just completely changed how he was acting from a voice actor perspective. But that looked interesting. God of War Valhalla dropped a DLC trailer, which will drop 5 days from today, which is December 7th, recording this right after the Game Awards. So yes, in a matter of days, we're about to get DLC called Valhalla. Interesting name, especially when you consider Norse mythology, and then what that means for Kratos. So that's interesting. Prince of Persia got a date for January 2024. Senua had no official date, just 2024. That was funny because Xbox, we all know, has been struggling. And for a game that they've kind of been touting at the Game Awards a lot recently, they've been showing bits and pieces off, but no official date for it. And to see it again not have a date is kind of funny, to say the least. Visually appealing, definitely not a game I'm interested in, but just from a visual performance perspective, it looks stunning. But it was also funny, kind of like seeing the fans and even the voice, voice at / mocap actress, if you will, kind of feel a little awkward because fans were just kind of like, I don't know what's going on over there at Xbox. I'm just saying, they be struggling with these games. And the next game was Kamuri. That's a game from a Japanese artist, and it really just like a nice, very visually appealing trailer that looks like it's going to be pretty good, but we also don't know what it's going to entail. So that one, be on the lookout for. The date is unknown for that. Sega is basically remastering or dropping a super game that will include 5 games. It's one of the 2 things, but 5 new games from Sega, which includes Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, and one other game. But yes, all that is coming with Sega in due time. So shout out to Sega for having an appearance at the Game Awards. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is basically the next level of Budokai Tenkaichi. The graphics look stunning. You're gonna hear similar words like just beautiful. And you can never go wrong with Dragon Ball Z. But it's always interesting because Naruto gets a lot of flack for almost dropping like the same game with like barely updated graphics, and gameplay mechanics and a little bit of extra story, they be getting smashed by fans. But for whatever reason, Dragon Ball can basically drop the same game over and over again, and nobody says nothing. So I find that a little bit interesting. I'd say keep the same energy. Either love Dragon Ball Z and love Naruto, or hate the creators behind the games if you're not getting a lot of creative endeavors. We did with Dragon Ball to some degree with Kakarot, and what's the other one? Dragon Ball Breakers. So I would give a pass from that perspective. But when you consider like the Budokai Tenkaichis, the Budokais in general, arguably similar games, just with added, fighters, added story. And I think, with Ultimate Ninja Storm, it's the same thing. And I mean, I am looking forward to the newer one. I also haven't played in a while, so that's probably why. But I would definitely say, like, let's cherish what we have, because once they decide that they done making games for both of these franchises, I'm saying, like, then we're gonna be like, oh man, I miss when they were, like, let's respect the art that we're still getting for Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, specifically Dragon Ball Z, because that was shown off tonight. Another game, Rise of the Ronin, got a date for it, March 22nd, 2024. Let's see, Overdose or OD. They didn't necessarily say it was Overdose. When you hear OD, you typically think of the phrase overdose. Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele collaborating on what looks to be a psychological horror thriller experience game, and Greg Miller from Kinda Funny called this. Now, this is where it's like either the universe is just, it just speaks to you, or he was tapped. Sonny sold us out. Okay, somebody must have told him and he wasn't trying to say nothing, because how is it that they also just happened to pan the camera towards him when the announcement was made, or when Jordan Peele was walking out on stage? Now, Tim Geddes and Andy think it's potentially possible that he was just really loud when it happened, because he did call it, and they found him and panned the camera to him, and he is well known in the gaming industry. Or it is just one of those coincidental, wow, by chance, how did all this culminate together type situation. So shout out to Greg Miller from Kinda Funny for calling that. It was a hype moment, and to see Hideo and Jordan Peele come together, two brilliant minds mesh together like a new experience. Whew. No date on it, of course. It's probably going to be a while, knowing Hideo. It's going to be a while before we see that game. But that is a game coming out nonetheless. Jurassic Park has a survival game. It looks like it's first person, and it's almost as if you're redoing the first game, and you're a girl going through the Jurassic Park museum, and looks like you're trying to get away from, of course, the raptors and the T-Rex and all that. So that's going to be an interesting game. The wifey's interested in that one. We're going to see if she actually plays it, knowing her. And then, oh yeah, she's in here, yeah. Black Myth Wukong got a date, August 20th, 2024. Looks fire. Warframe Whispers in the Walls, December 13th. Another game that I haven't played in so long. I miss my Nintendo. It's been a while. And it's just like, it's the same with Final Fantasy VII Part 1. I stopped playing that game and I couldn't beat the dang house. I just was like, I can't do this no more. Now I want to jump back into it because I want to experience Final Fantasy story. I could just watch the rest of it on YouTube and then just get ready for Rebirth. Who knows if any of my data also transfers over, so maybe that's why I also maybe want to, or I could look that up. Rebirth is double disc, which is, wow, that's a recall to old days. So with Warframe, it's kind of the same thing, like trying to remember game mechanics and the story and all these DLCs that have dropped forward and trying to get into that. How do you upgrade and update everything you use in the game? Like it's a process, and it's like sticking with it is always the best idea because you just stay with the flow. But when you just haven't been in it in a while, it's like, do you even want to chance it? Because now you just feel disconnected while you're playing. So Warframe is one of those games I'm glad it's still going. It's still churning out. And who knows, maybe one day I'll jump back in there. Final Fantasy VII, I'm jumping back in there because I got to get ready for that Rebirth because it looks kind of good. I also want to play Final Fantasy 16 because, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to get to that later. What's next? Tales of Kenzara Zhao, April 2024. Nice story behind the game. A guy, inspired by his dad when it came to video games. He decided to embark on creating a video game, and it looks pretty interesting. Again, it looks like a top-down 3D, like, I won't say platform, but more or less type of game. Looks pretty interesting. 2024, April 2024. First Berserker Kazan 2024 also looked interesting. Skull and Bones has another release date. It's been like, what, 2-3 years since this game was supposed to drop. This is dropping February 16th. Kind of funny that they say you could play it 3 days early. Is it really 3 days early? I ain't gonna touch it. And then Marvel finally dropped a what appears to be an exclusive for Xbox. Marvel Games and Xbox has an exclusive, which is Blade. It's gonna be interesting because it's Bethesda, and then Arcane Lions is the studio who is the same studio that made that one vampire game for Xbox that was basically an utter failure. What was it called? Darkfall or something like that? Didn't really work out the way I think they thought they did. So this studio in particular from Xbox seems like they have like an obsession with vampires type stuff. So on the one hand, you think that might be good because of Blade's background, but then also it didn't do good before. So you're like, are they gonna do good now? And then looking at the art style, although it looks a little clean, it also just looks Xboxy. Like, just Xboxes has like this, I don't want to call it goofy, but like it's like non-realistic look. They did have a game or two that looked very realistic, like Senua Saga, and I think one other one. But this one just, it doesn't give that same vibe as we get from like just Spider-Mans and the upcoming Wolverines, and it doesn't have that same vibe to it. So we'll see. It's Xbox. We'll see. No date on it. Just know we have a Blade game coming, dropping on Xbox. So now, side note, Xbox has a Blade game and a Star Wars game that's exclusive. To me, the Star Wars game draws me more towards finally buying an Xbox. And of course, I would rather get the Series X just to, you know what I'm saying? But that one draws me more than the Blade game. We'll see. Regardless, they both have been, well, Star Wars Outlaws is delayed, so who knows when that's coming out, if it's still 2024. Was projected January 2024. Now it's like open-ended at some point in 2024. We'll see. Moving on. The Last Sentinel, that looked interesting. Asian family, robots, that was interesting. Looked pretty unique. We'll see what happens. I didn't catch the date on that one. The First Descendant showed off some cool gameplay again. We all thought it was Stellar Blade for a second. Wasn't, but it still looks pretty unique. Summer 2024. Zenless Zone Zero 2024. Also, again, looked cool. Animated game. Reminded me of Scarlet Nexus, a game I still have not played yet, and I think that game is arguably a long game as well. I'm backed up on games. I am. But this one, in that realm, looks unique, looks cool. Just like Honkai Star Rail looks cool, right? Just whenever you get that anime vibe, you always just kind of immediately kind of perk up for it because it's like anime. So that 2024 still. Mecha Break. This is the one that really got my attention because it looked just like Gundam, but then it also looked like Armed Core 6. And I think like the beautiful combination that we need is true Gundam mechs in Armed Core, because that playstyle is so clean. Now, of course, they would have to maybe beef up the melee aspect of it a little bit more because of the the blades that you get with Gundam, but we need that in Armed Core. Now, Mecha Break looks like it did. It definitely looked like it was Armed Core for a second until it wasn't. Then it looked like, oh, it might be a different Gundam game, and it didn't officially say that. It just said Mecha Break. So maybe it is Gundam-ish, or you know how mechs just look like Gundams inevitably just because Gundam is so popular. That game looks fire. I believe no date on that one. Maybe 2024. Exoborn looked unique. No date on that one. Light No Fire from No Man's Sky. It's a game about like an open-ended Earth where everybody can play and build up on it, and like it's just forever interactivity with other people living in that earth. So shout out to No Man's Sky for embarking on something different. They said they've been spending about 5 years developing this game. So while No Man's Sky has been doing its thing, I think they're called Hello Games, right? They've been developing this game and it's called Light No Fire. So interesting name, just like No Man's Sky was an interesting name. And hopefully they won't stumble out the gate like they did with No Man's Sky. Shout out to them. Final Fantasy 16 dropping 2 DLCs, one tonight and another one, I believe it was March 2024. Crazy to see 2 DLC basically get announced for a game and one of them's already now available. Like, yo, come on. What can you say? And then the finals is now available. Games as a service, I guess you could call it, or a multiplayer game. PlayStation now available as of tonight, which is, you know, a nice surprise to see like games actually being available tonight and not just announced for the future, or even if it was a near future, like the night of Game Awards. A few things have been available, which is really, really cool. Then Monster Hunter Wilds is a new game coming 2025 from Monster Hunter. Good to see again that world continue to still expand. And, you know, who knows, they continue to maybe even add Horizon stuff in it because it's kind of very apropos for Monster Hunter. And that's all the announcements from the Game Awards tonight. Shout out to the games that won awards. Shout out to the games that were nominated. And then shout out to all the new games and content that we'll be seeing in between today and the near future and the faraway future. Very, very surprising that we didn't get any Insomniac presence or Naughty Dog presence outside of them winning the award. We thought maybe there would have been a teaser for The Last of Us Season 2, or even like a little bit more gameplay for The Last of Us 2 remastered game. We didn't get none of that. We thought maybe we get some Insomniac action with Spider-Man 2 DLC, Venom spinoff, Carnage spinoff, Wolverine, like Insomniac's other game that they're working on, which may or may not be a Marvel game. We didn't get none of that. I know there's like a Black Panther game out there and a Black Panther Captain America game out there and an Iron Man game out there in the works. None of them got shown off or announced, not even just announced, just like, yeah, showcased in any way, shape, or form. So surprisingly, Marvel quiet despite games actually coming out. Of course, we have Blade, but it's pretty interesting how quiet the rest of that was, considering we kind of know that stuff is coming out or heavily speculated on. So hopefully we'll get some more news on that. If not by the end of the year, the start of 2024, we'll get more information on that kind of stuff. But what do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy the Game Awards? What was your favorite game of 2023? What was your game of the year? Mine was Spider-Man 2. And best action adventure, I think I'm leaning more towards Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Just because, I mean, that game should get recognized more than it did at the Game Awards. But let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think and what were some of the highlights and award premieres that got you excited. The comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, ignite that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that way you know some of my videos on my occasional live streams. So we sit back, see what's cracking. It's your man Micah signing out until the next video or live stream. Wait for it. And keep it game.